Ladies and gentlemen, we are live here at the Patio, Grubs and Sudds in Wellston, Ohio. Cooler weather. It's getting darker earlier, so a lot smaller crowd. Actually, there's no crowd. It's the good folks that are going to be on the show later on. Of course, Coach Graham is here. Coach Briggs is with him. We usually don't have Coach Briggs come up and talk. I might put him on the spot.
Yeah.
Later on, we'll see what happens.
He's no stranger to the microphone.
Who else we got? Hunter Collins is here. Word on the street is Connor McWilliams.
Connor
will come on down, and Wes Briggs.
Yep.
New quarterback for the Golden Rockets since, unfortunately, we lost Johnny Scott. He's been playing some offense, though, so there's Connor right now. As always, good to be with y'all. I'm Matt Peterson with Nate Mollahan, Jordan Lackey. We'll get into our TVC recap, have the players up on our second segment, and then have at least Coach Graham, maybe Coach Briggs on for the third segment. Then start the fourth segment. We'll talk a little bit of Vinton County with Coach Briggs and go from there.
The season's winding down. My goodness.
That's it.
It actually feels like football weather for the first time probably in a while, so it's a change. Tomorrow night, tomorrow is supposed to rain throughout the day, so it's actually, like I said, it's amazing how fast this season's gone.
Yeah, we had our last radio broadcast last week.
Yeah, that was fun.
It's an excellent way to cap it off, I think, boys.
We may not have enough time in the show tonight.
We apologize. We apologize to all the listeners out there for the excitement that we had out there.
Got a lot of thoughts to share. It was a big win for the Golden Rockets. But
of course, going to halftime, of course, I won't get off. I won't bird dog, or I won't rabbit trail today. So anyway, go ahead, Pete. Keep us on track.
We're still a little excited.
Yeah, it was a fun game. Still a little
pumped up, guys. So the league is pretty much, I think, in most people's minds settled. We'll talk about the last game on the list. Vinton County beats Nelsonville. But, starting off with Athens, River Valley, of course, we talk about this every time we mention River Valley. They're in that rebuild year, but they are scoring a little bit of points now. Athens had close to 250 yards rushing, which is pretty much the opposite of what we saw from them. I mean, Alex Piro, I think he had 16 carries, 137 yards, 3 touchdowns in that game. So they're starting to click. And where they're sitting with Nelsonville right now, each one of them 4-1 in the league. They could really spoil what's left of Nelsonville's chances of taking it. Of course, they still have a share of the league title if we can pull up a win against Vinton County. They'd split with Vinton County at that point. But Athens playing pretty well, and they look good against us.
That sounds like a good goal for the Rockets to have, play spoiler.
Be spoiler.
That's what they kind of got to hang their hat on from this point on, I think. But, I think Athens was kind of feeling around, kind of searching, seeing what they could do successful against River Valley, and they found some things offensively rushing the football where, they was able to make some nice plays and score some touchdowns.
Athens is dangerous. They've got, watching in person,
they're skilled.
Talking to other coaches, of course, Coach Graham, they've got a lot of good players. They can do some damage, and as you see, 54 points last week, and I think they put up, 48 against us. Mm-hmm. So they put up a lot of points this year. I almost look after Nelsonville got beat down last week by Vinton County. Nelsonville had a total 55 yards total offense. And they're used to dominating offensively. And you come and get your lunch handed to you against Vinton County. I think Athens is set up for a good win, a surprise win. Spoiler.
Yeah.
I got no problem with that call. I mean, that's the way they've been able to adjust and just do some different things. They had a rough start to the season. Athens went 0-3 right off the rip. And then I think they said they've won 5 of their last 6. So they're playing extremely good football. And then being able to come out and the run game. I mean, Braden Young has 87 yards rushing and a touchdown. 5 of 7 passing with 2 passing touchdowns. So good balanced offense.
TBC league play, it's a little underrated, I think, because, think of the game we watched last week, boys.
Right.
Wellston versus Meigs as a battle all the way to the finish. And, that could have been the same case with Athens.
Right.
Just a few mistakes here and there away, a few penalties, away from that game being the same type of football game, honestly.
I agree 100%. Like I think Matt said best, it's like what was it? A punishment, 1,000 cuts. How would you
death by 1,000 cuts?
Death by 1,000 cuts.
That's what they did to us.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah, we got the talent, we got the size, we got the coaching to be successful in this league for sure. And and execution. We've executed week after week better as we went on. So we just got to keep moving forward. We got a big opponent this week against Vinton County. And we can play spoiler. So here we go.
So moving on to Warren, played Alexander, and Alexander, I think, expected a little bit more than what they got this year. They're sitting 2-7 overall, 1-4 in the TVC. they were missing Isaac Waller. He's a big part of their offense, running back. But it's the same old story with them. A lot of drop balls, no rushing game whatsoever. I think Warren had 188 yards on the ground. Alex had -17.
Wow.
So it's hard to win ball games if you can't. If you're relying solely on the pass, I mean, there's not too many high school teams outside of Cincinnati and Columbus that can sling it like that and win ball games. You have to have at least a little bit of a balance. And when you can't run the football, it's just very, very hard. Jordan Schultz, 10 of 21 for 106 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a fumble lost. Yeah, I don't know much about Warren, but offensively it was the rushing. The passing stats were pretty much close to the same. But yeah, it's hard to overcome turnovers and not being able to run the ball.
Yeah, just looking at the stats, it looks like the line of scrimmage was a big place of emphasis here. If you're looking at stats and stuff, and it looks like Warren definitely dominated the line of scrimmage and was getting off the football and defensively being able to stop the run. Obviously, they couldn't get anything. Alexander couldn't get anything going at all. So
I was able to watch Warren last year.
They had one TD, rushing TD. It looks like so.
Yeah.
No, passing TD. Sorry. So it was a passing TD actually that they got in that football game.
So last year I was able to watch Warren, and I think this is the same running back that was there last year, that Landon Fairbanks. They kick and fly. You know, he can do a lot of damage. So you see 12 carries, 105 yards, 1 touchdown. And then Alexander, you know, that Jordan Schultz, he's a great athlete, great quarterback, and it's sad to see that, you know, what is he, Matt? Is he a junior or senior?
He's a senior.
So senior, it's sad because the young man could have an outstanding career, but a lot of times he gets the ball to the receivers and they're not catching the ball for him.
Yeah,
You need to help him out.
He's got the arm to probably play at the next level.
Oh, he slings it, man.
I mean, he can absolutely throw it. Rumor has it, of course, we didn't see it with our eyes, but they say he can throw a 70-yard ball. And some of those ones that he threw against us, I mean, we caught breaks on.
Yeah, right.
Either guys dropped him or we just had good coverage. And he puts the ball on you in a hurry. I think we made a couple comments during that broadcast when we were announcing that game. You better have soft hands when that guy's throwing, especially if you're running any kind of a crossing route or a slant, something across the middle, because he's going to get on you in a hurry.
He brings it quick.
So it's a shame, you know, that they felt like they were in a pretty good position, but you know, here we are at the end of the year, and they're kind of in that bottom tier. And of course, Vinton County, Nelsonville, we can go ahead and hit on that one. Like Nate said earlier, 56 yards Vinton County holds Nelsonville to. And we've talked about Vinton County's defense, man.
Yeah.
And when you got a defensive coordinator like Coach Phillips, this isn't his first rodeo, boys. I mean, he's been around the block a long time.
Yeah.
Very, very experienced, knows what he's doing on that defense. And they've got athletes in Vinton County, man. And when you put those two pieces of the equation together, he's got a good thing going down there.
You know, right now you've got Garrett Brown, who's a top-tier athlete. He don't even play defense right now. That's how loaded they are talent-wise. So Coach Phillips, I was able to talk to me and Matt, actually, we were able to talk to him over the weekend a good bit, and he just had a good game plan going to Nelsonville. And the only score that Nelsonville had was, I think, it was a pick, and then Nelsonville scored on a 23-yard drive. So they're pretty solid. You know, they pretty much. Coach Phillips did a great job figuring out the tendencies in Nelsonville and just shut them down. He said they had nothing for him. And he said he told Coach Carper at halftime, if we score 13, we can win this game. And that's what they did, and they was able to hold off. And that's a big win over there at Nelsonville. So, you know, congratulations to Coach Carper and staff, and Coach Phillips. He's a good buddy of mine, so congratulations to those guys.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting is Vinton County forced Nelsonville to do something that they haven't been doing the past few games. You know, the game against us and then some of the other ones that they played before that. Later in the season, they've started to really lean on throwing.
Yeah.
If you can't run the ball with Gavin Richards, man, you're gonna
make them one-dimensional.
You're gonna struggle.
Come up and crowd that line.
And the other dimension wasn't working.
Right.
So it wasn't a good outcome for the Buckeyes that night for sure.
And I'm not sure how accurate. You know, you try to get some stats off Max Preps, and I'm not sure how accurate those are. I think the teams upload them, so you expect them to be pretty close. I think Landon Inman had more special teams yardage than Nelsonville had on offense. His kick return and punt returns were more than their offense.
The 56 yards is accurate. That's what Coach Phillips texted me Sunday morning, actually.
Yep. I think Max Preps have 57, but we're not going to split hairs over that yard. That could just be a scoreboard error. like we have angle problems sometimes we're jumping yard lines. So, congratulations to Vinton County, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
good job.
This is what we expected. Those two teams were going to come to a head, and when they did, it was going to matter.
Right.
And
anytime you can hold a team for under 100 yards rushing, is a pretty successful night. So
Yeah.
total yards is even a whole nother level. So that defense is performing at a high level right now for sure.
Well, and the whole team, Coach Carper, what a disciplined program. I mean, these guys are like a clock. I think I mentioned in one of the episodes of this show earlier in the year, you do not want to try to get into a ground and pound slugfest with Vinton County. It's not going to go your way. So, I mean, I understand what Nelsonville was trying to do, open things up in the pass game a little bit since they're shutting down that run game.
As an athlete, you almost have to expect that's what type of football game it's going to be. So prepare yourself for that, Rockets, because that's probably what kind of game it's going to be.
Yeah.
And it's about overcoming, because there's going to be a lot of setbacks throughout this game. And just like last week against Meigs, you just got to keep playing each play and play all 4 quarters. Just like we did.
Yeah, when a team comes out, any team, the one way to kind of show dominance is how well you run the ball. And so I think, of course, Vinton County is a ground and pound team. I would expect them to come out and just pound it, and just kind of try to control the clock, and then just grind them out. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So see where we're at on time here, 7:12. Let's real quick. We'll run through just a little bit of Wellston and Meigs. I put Wellston on our note sheet. My apologies about that, guys. Little typo. Wellston takes out Meigs 28-18. Scored all of our points in, well, at least the second half. I think maybe the fourth quarter. I can't remember. Josh Clarkson scored that first touchdown. I can't remember if that was at the end of the third quarter or beginning of the fourth quarter.
I think 28 unanswered points or something like that. Is that what it was?
What an exciting game.
It was wild, man. We'll run through the stats here real quick. Wes Briggs, 6 of 14, 104 yards, a touchdown, no TDs, and I don't think he was sacked one time. There was one time he had to corral a high snap and managed to get a yard off that rush, but he played a very good game. Cale Fott leads receiving, 3 catches, 54 yards. Bennett Yoder in a check, 2 catches, 40 yards and a touchdown. Seth Lambert, 15 carries, 53 yards and a score. Mason Collins, 11 carries, 26 yards. And, of course, Clarkson gets his little taste of offense there, 2 carries, 5 yards, and a touchdown. And then for Meigs, Griffin Cleveland, 12 of 25, 165, a touchdown, but 3 picks. And that speaks to that Rocket defense. I'm sure we'll talk about that here shortly. Griffin also had 12 carries, 24 yards, and a rushing touchdown. And Conley Burnham at running back, 17 carries, 100 yards, a touchdown. 3 catches, 72 yards, and a receiving touchdown. So Meigs tried to run their whole offense pretty much through those 2 guys. And second half adjustments, man, we came out and did our thing.
Yeah, I think that was we put our foot in the ground at halftime, and then we took off.
Tell you how excited it was. We were listening back to our radio broadcast, and my son Rylan texted me during the game. He's like, "It's funny listening to you guys because we can't understand what you're saying because you guys are so excited." That's how fun the game was, and the crowd was. I think someone mentioned the crowd probably the loudest they heard our crowd in years. So what a fun atmosphere, and a senior night. Of course, we'll talk more about it later. I'm sure Mike Weber hitting a big field goal.
Yep.
37-yard field goal to take the lead. 12. Where is it? Tied up 12-12. And so many big plays. Big plays by seniors, and then of course we have a young guy that stepped up and made some big plays. Actually got hit of the game. So yeah, big night for the Rockets.
Absolutely, man.
It was wild.
Yeah, I was screaming. You guys were screaming.
We usually do a pretty good job of not talking over top of each other. Things got a little bit out of hand.
Absolutely.
There were about 3 plays there towards the end that was it was pretty exciting. And I think the tone of that game was in the second half. Usually, you have a couple of leaders that will step up and start making plays. It was everybody. I mean, we were calling out just about everybody's name, different plays, guys stepping up in key situations.
Yeah, you have guys at the front level, and then guys at the mid level, and then guys in the third level coming up making plays. I mean, they were stepping up, play after play defensively, and that's what we was talking about the night before on the Thursday Night Lights pregame show. With Coach Graham is not letting them extend these drives.
Right.
And that's what we started doing and making some big freaking plays, man.
Yeah.
And it was exciting for sure.
And played a clean game. I think we only had 1 penalty.
Yeah, what a fun, clean game, and it was insane. And then of course traditionally, let's face it, guys, we're Wellston guys. If Wellston gets down by a couple scores like that, they go into halftime, it's over. You think about all the games, and as long as you can think back and watching games, it's usually over. But that
game didn't feel like it, though, did it?
I know it didn't, and they come back out and
feel like it at all.
that second half was a totally different tale, and it says a lot to the coaching staff how the kids are still fighting for those guys and coming out fighting for each other.
Yeah.
Just like we had a couple guys on last week that said, how they're just helping each other out, just rooting for each other and not being jealous of each other's success, but helping each other have success. And that's when
saw it
you're
all over
building the
field
program
Friday
right.
night for sure. You saw that all over the
Yep.
field Friday night.
I mean, when
Picking each
Johnny
other
got that
up.
big interception with the cast on,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big interception, especially for a kid who thought he was going to be out for the rest of the season, and he didn't get to play offense, so he's over there and made a big interception. Then Josh Clarkson, like you said, went up like he was 6'5", pulled that ball down, and then of course McWilliams at the end of the game intercepted that ball, run it back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just incredible.
Turn the Jets on,
Yeah.
too. I mean, wow. He
And
got
to
some
see them
speed behind
celebrate
him.
with each other too,
Yeah.
like excited for each other.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there was one key play that I want to mention. You actually called this out in the broadcast, Jordan, I think, is somebody left Bennett Yadernachek unblocked. And Griffin Cleveland's back there, thinks he has all kind of time, and all of a sudden
yeah.
he has to turn his back, and he barely got the ball away, but Bennett absolutely rocked him. He gets up limping, goes to the sideline, and the game wasn't the same after that.
Yeah.
They had to hammer down, and from that point, Cleveland was a little limited to
Yeah,
what he was able to
everybody
do.
was shook.
He was a a double threat, pass run
Right.
threat, and then from that point on, that limited him. He was kind of limited in the pocket, and he was more looking for number 3 from that point on down the field, and that's,
Feels like we got a little rain coming down right now.
Yeah.
sounds like it, yeah.
There was somebody sponsored a player of the game. We don't award a player of the game for this show or.
I think it was a Honda dealership in,
Yeah, the
in
belt.
Athens.
Yeah, Taylor Honda or something
Yeah.
like that.
Okay, so Hugh White.
You White.
Honda. Okay.
Okay.
So
Oh,
anyway,
White.
they sponsored a player of the game, had a belt or whatever, and that was given to Bennett Yadernachek.
Well
And
deserved.
Deservedly so. I mean, he was all over the place on both sides of the ball, offensively, defensively. Offensively at the tight end position, laying blocks to spring guys on the edge. Had a couple of key catches there towards the end to set up a Seth Lambert touchdown, and then scored a touchdown of his own. So those two, he only had 2 catches, 40 yards, but a score, and set up another one. We thought that first one he got in, he was about a half a
Yeah.
yard short. So of course, I'm sure we'll talk to Coach Graham about.
Well, in all fairness, that belt could have went to so many different players.
Oh yeah, and we
my
said that.
Gosh,
we
Yeah.
said
it was
that.
so hard to, like, if you had to pick one player, who would it be?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
tough.
There's
Isaac
a couple
McWilliams
moments
would have been
during
in
the
there.
game where I saw Bennett out there reeling his guys in, and sometimes guys get a little out of control out
Yeah.
there, and,
Right.
and you need a guy, and he's that guy out there on the field, that captain, that leader, that senior, that's kind of corralling the guys, and I've noticed that a lot with him, and I tell you what, that along with all the big plays that he's made defensively and offensively last week.
Well, like
well
you
deserved,
said,
well deserved.
there was
sure.
points at that time where the game was starting to get chippy when we were starting to get the lead.
Yeah.
And
We talked about it on
in
the
the
broadcast.
past games, we've gotten personal fouls, and we've made some mistakes, big mistakes that kind of set us back. And then that type of stuff there, like you called out, that's big time stuff. Where you got a senior come out there, leader, and say, "Listen, guys, let's back up and make sure." Keep focused. Let's win this game.
Yeah, penalty
then-
yards was down.
Yeah.
That type of stuff matters. For sure.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think Mike just got up from the table. I think we're ready to take a little bit of a breather. Mike, you ready to go to break here? Okay. He was talking to what little bit of a crowd we
Michael.
got. Mike,
Michael.
I don't know what he prefers.
Yeah, a little FOI. If his mom's listening, I got educated Saturday night at a wedding. I said, hey, I sat with his mom and dad, and I said, hey, man, Mike's such a great guy. Hold your ears, Mike. I said, Mike's such a great guy, and I love working with him and stuff. He just, he's just a top-notch guy. And she's looking at me, and I'm telling her all good things about Mike, and I'm thinking, well, she's going to be happy about this, and I'm getting like the death stare. She's like, Mike Ole. I was like, okay, Michael. So
Hey,
I
that's
told her I
good
would
to
not
know.
make that mistake again. So we got to respect the mamas out there. Ain't that right, Michael?
Well, he's done a great job producing the show.
He does a
That's
great
for sure,
job.
man. We've had a good time. So with that, we'll take about a minute break or so and be right back with you.
I got to use a rest. Minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here live at the Patio Grubs and Sudds in Wellston, Ohio. Special thanks to Keith and Wendy Henry, owners of the Patio, for putting the show on, sponsoring the show this year. We've had a great time.
Oh, it's been fun.
This will be the last regular season episode. We'll do one more. Next week be a TVC Wellston season recap. So looking forward to that. I'm Matt Peterson, Nate Mollahan, Jordan Lackey, and we now have junior offensive defensive lineman Connor McWilliams. Connor, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good.
You should be. Connor was awarded the radio. We always award a hit of the game, sponsored by Monroe Collision, and there were so many. Like Nate said, man, there were so many good plays, offensively, defensively. This could have gone, a lot of different ways. But we gave this hit to you. You had a sack on a key third down that you laid the wood to the guy pretty hard. What a lot of people don't know, of course, you're not standing up, but you're not the biggest defensive lineman.
No, I think I'm probably one of the small. I think I'm the smallest lineman on the team.
So he's playing interior line and somehow manages to get through. And Meigs, we talked about all night, man. That guys were huge.
He's putting the pressure on all night.
Meigs' guys, they were huge.
Sure.
The one guy looked like we said, what was it, The Undertaker, the big D, number 78. So,
66, I think.
Well, there's 66, but then 78 was the big guy, had the big long hair.
Yeah.
He was a monster. But yeah.
So tell us what happened on that play. How'd you get through?
Well, I think on that play they actually put me back at linebacker for that one play,
Okay.
and I was called to blitz X, I was called to blitz X, which
There
they
you
had
go.
Bray Myers at nose guard, and he was supposed to shoot the other A gap, and I think the guy fired off and hit him, so I just blitzed my regular A gap, and I saw him in the pocket, and
Came through pretty clean.
yeah, came through pretty clean and hit him right at waist level.
Yeah.
That was it. I mean,
We were all fired up on that.
We
up there.
went nuts right there on that play.
well,
For sure.
and I think the most, and Nate will appreciate this as a former defense coach guy, he's always talking about wrap and tackle. So that's what I think was so impressive. A lot of guys hit. We've seen guys make wicked hits and bounce off and the ball carrier
Right.
keeps on going. Oh, no, sir. Oh, Connor McWilliams puts his shoulder pad waist level, like he said.
Hit and drive,
Wrap
baby.
it
Hit
in,
and
looks
drive.
like a crocodile. All of a sudden, the guy's on the ground. So, yeah, we about come out of the box on that play.
I love offense, but I really love defense. Defense is I love watching good hits and stuff like that because that's what football's all about. That's what, you're a gladiator. It's like you're out there and it's you against them. And when you can put a big hit like that, man, especially at the time of the ball game it was, it was a
moment.
big third down. And then, of course, we had a big comeback to win the game. So how'd that feel? I mean,
It felt pretty good.
so
It felt like we were finally getting momentum back within the game.
so from the players' perspective, how was the crowd?
The crowd was amazing. I love the atmosphere last Friday night. It was like I felt like they were in the game with us, like they actually.
I've had a bunch of people tell me, and I feel the same way, that I haven't heard a crowd like that in Wellston in a long time. And we said a minute ago, I'm not sure if you heard us say, but a lot of times in the past, Wellston, typically, if they get down a couple scores at halftime, you can pretty much guarantee the game's over because you have attitudes, you have a lot of things go wrong, and kids just give up.
The crowd was still engaged throughout the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
battle.
And that
each
crowd-
battle we won one after the other, and throughout that whole second half.
You guys come out and just took over.
Yeah.
And that crowd, like Jordan said, was just there the whole time. And kudos to you guys for not giving up. So how was the atmosphere in the locker room amongst the players?
Halftime.
Yeah, I'm
Halftime.
sorry, halftime.
Halftime, we knew that we weren't out of the game, and we knew we needed to step up. So we did. We talked amongst ourselves to find out what we needed to do, and we talked amongst the coaches to find out what they said we needed to do, and we went out there and we executed the game plan we put in at halftime, and it paid off.
You could tell, and we said that coming out, these are the type of games that eventually it's going to come to a point where somebody has to want it more, and I think you guys put on display. You just wanted it more. You played like you wanted it more. Everybody, probably about halfway through the third quarter, man, it's like a switch flipped, and everybody's playing with their tails on fire. Now, you're a junior, so we've had several players on this year. Of course, it's a big junior class, so we do lose some pretty key seniors, but you're part of that big group that's coming back. What are your goals going into next year? Do you look to play more of a linebacker position because your brother is actually graduating? So you looking to maybe fill his role?
Next year, I am planning on getting a little bigger, just because it's nicer to be bigger. And I do plan on playing a little bit more linebacker, because that's where Coach Graham said he would need me the most, and happy to do whatever he says.
Well, so far,
Right.
we think you'll do a fine job.
Well, that's what Mike says. You want to be a linebacker, but if Coach Graham says, hey, we need you here, you're willing to do that. And that's what you need. You need to be a good player, good team. So
Awesome.
just like your brother, playing line. You never thought he'd be playing line. He does a good job.
Great. Well, Connor, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank
We're going
you
to
for
have
having
Hunter Collins come up here
Great job.
next.
Congratulations,
on
buddy.
getting hit of the game. So, Hunter, come on down, man.
Hunter Collins, ladies and gentlemen.
This guy we got coming up here was the hit of the game the prior week against, who was that week before? Athens.
Yep.
Same thing, had a monster sack coming off the edge
going on, Hunter?
against Braden Young. So, Hunter, thanks for coming, man.
Yep.
Good to talk to you. We have casual conversations here and there throughout the year, and I think our general consensus is if we had to elect a defensive player of the year, it'd probably be you.
Yeah. He says, yep.
I like the confidence, man. I got no problem with that. This kid knows what he does. And on offense, doing a lot of blocking for your brother this year.
Yep.
So it's been a fun year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, definitely. Walking for my brother. It's fun when because I'm guard and I pull.
Yeah.
When I get out there, I just try to knock someone's head off. He's right behind me.
We see it.
Oh, yeah.
Because he gets the edge a lot, especially running out of that Wildcat.
Yeah.
So on defense, now, do you play a little bit of edge rush and outside linebacker?
So it just depends what kind of formation they come out in. Sometimes they got me rushing the edge, or sometimes I'm playing back and playing zone,
Yeah.
like getting the flats and reading the quarterback and stuff.
Okay. That's another thing I wanted to bring up because he had another key play. Of course, we gave you hit of the game against Athens for that early sack you had against Braden Young. It's funny because, like we told you guys in the locker room after that game, it was like you and Josh Clarkson were actually in a competition for this T-shirt because Josh came out of that first special teams plan. I mean, he absolutely just decleated somebody, and we thought for sure that was going to be it. And then the next offensive series, here you come off the edge and just absolutely rock Braden Young. So, and then you had some other key plays during the game. One of the ones that I thought was pretty awesome against Meigs this past week. Was on Isaac McWilliams' interception return for a touchdown. I think that the thing that made that play happen, and if you kind of walk us through this and see if I'm interpreting this the right way, is Griffin Cleveland was actually running out towards the outside, rolling out, and you had a guy that you were kind of in a position where you had to either pick coverage or decide if you're going to rush the quarterback. You timed that perfectly. I think if you went too early, then he dumps that ball over your head. If you wait too late, he takes off running. So I think the timing on there was key. Is that pretty much how you saw it?
Yeah, I see him rolling out. I was like, I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get
It's
that
hard
sack.
not to. It's hard not to, but that's just smart IQ football. And you see that a lot out of guys like him. Clarkson's another one that I think has a really good football IQ, especially covering out there on the edge.
I think one of his biggest strengths is his consistency.
Absolutely.
Be
Game in,
relentless.
game out.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, play after play, he's after it every single play. He don't take any plays off, and he understands what he needs to do out there as an offensive lineman or as a defensive lineman or whatever scheme that you're in.
Yep.
Savviness. So I look forward to seeing you out there, man.
Well, and it takes,
For sure.
when you're playing both ways almost every play, it takes endurance. It takes to have a physically
does.
fit body.
It does.
So I know, of course, you and your brother worked hard this offseason.
yeah.
I talked to you and your brother a lot this past offseason. And how much do you feel that's comes into play now?
Oh, it helps a lot. Coach Graham's training builds explosiveness and wrestling. I'm on the wrestling team.
Yeah.
Nice.
How's that play into everything,
Oh,
in your
yeah.
opinion?
Getting low, if you ever see me tackle, I just double leg and then roll.
Yeah.
So
I've seen a few wrestling moves. I've
yeah.
definitely seen some takedowns.
It just, I don't know, I just got out there and played my
Yeah.
hardest.
It definitely benefits you for sure, I
Yeah.
think.
I know we listen to all of our radio broadcasts are on Spotify, and we always try to go back and listen to those. Of course, we always try to get better, doing our broadcasts.
Yeah.
But I think it also
It's kind
helps
of like
us.
you watching game film. We listen to
Yeah.
our stuff to try to get better.
But another part of that, though, is it gives us a different perspective on the game because when you're calling the game, you think you see things. There's always things that you forget. And as we listen to these games back over the years or over the season, there'll be games where we might call Bennett Goddardchek might have a really good game. Or Seth Lambert might have a really good game or whatever. Defensively, it seems like you have been the anchor and the name that we call every game that's going to have 5 or 6 key plays, monster plays that really set the tone for that defense. So, congratulations on a good year, man. You're part of that junior class too, so we'll get you back for another year, you and your brother both. I'm interested to see that, man, because I think the defense this year really impressed me. Because, of course, the struggles with last year, and it's a young team.
Yeah.
You got a new coaching staff coming in. There's a lot of unknowns. So we expected to have some defensive struggles, but even in games when we thought things got out of hand, overall, I think the defense really did a pretty good job. Most of the time, it's just busted plays.
Right.
You give up a couple big plays here and there. So you're a big part of that consistency, man. So
So
congratulations.
knowing the success you've had, what are you going to do different this offseason? I know you worked hard last offseason, but you can always get better at what you do. So what's your plan this offseason?
I'm just gonna push harder, work harder.
Get more guys involved.
Set the bar a little
Yeah,
higher.
Yeah, get other guys involved and working out, and that's where like as soon as the season's done, which whether you guys make a playoff game or not, when the season's done, then that's when the next year starts.
Yep.
That's when you got to start really the spring, the summer. That's where you're going to get better, for the fall. And this means your senior year coming up.
Recruiting guys, that
Man,
kind
yeah,
of stuff.
get guys out,
Yeah.
get them excited about the game of football, and and you guys coming in, you got 4 wins right now. You guys got a lot of momentum around your program. Of course, you guys heard the excitement at the game last week, and you had a lot of kids walking around that game, and how excited that was. Excitement is magnetic, and then go out and recruit guys, get them out to play football, and then lead by example. Be the hardest worker. You don't always have to talk about what you do, but what you do, how hard you work will set the stage for next year. I know you guys have a good junior class, so man, keep working hard.
It's going to be
I
exciting.
know your grandpa's proud of you.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Jerry.
Yeah, he's a good grandpa.
Yeah.
Talks to us all the time. But yeah, hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you
Hunter,
do.
thanks, man.
Thank you guys.
Good luck next week.
Thank you.
All right, and for the third one, we got Wes Briggs. Wes? So this is another special kid here that probably, if you talk to him, I'm sure we'll ask him about this, he probably didn't think he'd be in this position
I know his mom didn't want him to be in this position.
at the beginning of the year.
His mom was saying that he's such a little guy, as you guys can see. She didn't mind if he played a little bit of varsity, but not start varsity, right?
No, she didn't want that.
Yeah. I know, of course, this is Wes Briggs. His dad's Joe Briggs, the offensive coordinator. So welcome, Wes.
Thanks for having me.
As a Rolling Stone saying, tell your mom you can't always get what you want.
That's right.
So, man, we're happy to have you on the show.
Happy to be here.
Young quarterback to be starting, man, a freshman. Do you feel like it was ever a little overwhelming?
The first game I stepped in against Nelsonville, it was my first few snaps. We were getting the ball moving, and then the snap went over my head. And once I started getting passes complete, it really just started to come back. And
Yeah.
I didn't really feel anything else from there.
Well, I don't know if you pay too much attention to numbers. How many starts have we had now?
3.
Three starts. You're over 100 yards in all 3 of those starts.
I'm sure you don't pay attention to that at all, do you?
No.
So,
That quarterback, Coach Briggs.
for a
what do you think?
freshman, for a freshman to come in and have that kind of poise, and that's something Nathan and I talk about, Jordan, when he's there. We're just so impressed with your calmness, the way that you handle yourself in the pocket, even when things break down.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some things that you'll get better as you go on, learn how to throw the ball away in certain situations, that kind of stuff. But very impressed, man. So if you had a particular route that you would say is your favorite to throw, what is it?
Probably slant, because I'm able to see over the line, and then they're just right over the middle, and I'm pretty good at hitting them in stride and everything.
And we've seen that to Kale. We've seen that to Bennett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That slant to Bennett is just about uncoverable. Because
Yeah.
Bennett usually has a size advantage on just
Yeah.
about anybody. And like
Yeah.
you said, man, you got a quarterback. What are you, 6'4"?
6'4".
Okay, so we guessed right.
Yeah.
So we're,
Then Canner, of course, has got a couple nice passes. And then, like, when you see him I call him Big Ben when we're on the radio. It's like you see him out in the huddle, and it's like there's the rest of the team, and then there's Wes. Of course, then you have, Landon Hypes out there, too. It's about 6'6".
Yeah, he's big.
So, but he doesn't look like a quarterback that you normally see in the TVC. He looks like I said, looks like Big Ben. And he just, he's got the speed of Ben Big, too. That's, but
Yeah, we're working on that.
yeah, and I know your dad has talked a lot
Yeah.
about, of course, getting you an off-season footwork and things, but you're still young, man. You're
Yeah.
you're very young, but the poise, that's what we've
That's
talked
what I was
about.
about ready to say. The poise out there, I've been really impressed with.
Thank you.
You're going to go get better each week, and as the off season goes on. So We got a lot to look forward to from you, buddy. And
I mean,
keep
he's
working, man.
Very
For
accurate.
sure.
I mean, he slings the pass. Like there's been times that slant route. I think it was the first pass, because I was texting your dad during the game. Of course, I know he's not met. I'm calling the radio on the game. Your dad's calling offense. I'm texting him and Coach Graham during that River Valley game. Put the big man in. Let him throw the ball. And because I'm like, that'd be a perfect opportunity to get you out there and get you in the mix. And then you come in and throw that 2-point conversion. And the way you just change your arm position and just threw that ball at a slant right over the middle, is like, wow, that's why I want him in the game. I mean, it's special. And being a quarterback is not easy. I mean, it takes first of all, you got to have the athletic ability to do it. You got to have the mental capacity, and you got to have the poise.
Yeah.
You got to be able to stand back there and be able to, guys, be calm and cool and collective. When things go wrong, don't panic. And you don't seem to panic. I mean, maybe you do a good job hiding that, but from up in the booth, it doesn't seem like you panic much.
No, he seems to respond well, and that's, we've had a couple plays where things don't go your way, and the ball gets tipped and picked. Or I think you had one, wasn't against Meigs, you didn't have any picks against Meigs. I think Athens had one, and they said, look, it just came off your hand the wrong way, or something like that.
Yeah, there's one, you still, I think it was a out route to Kel, and it looked like it just come off your hand, and it had a little bit of side spin on it a little bit. And that's about, I mean, you've been pretty accurate.
Yeah. So, future's bright. We're excited for you. I think it gives the offense a little bit different flavor. With Johnny Scott, we had a little bit of power run mixed in there from the quarterback position, so we have to rely on backs a little bit more, but I think that gives us a little bit better, attack, throwing the football, being able to really mix some things up. So we're excited to see what you do, man.
Thank you.
Excited to be part of that class that's coming back. And junior year is going to be exciting. Of course, Johnny will have both hands back next year. So hopefully, even with him back, they find ways to get you in the mix, man. We're excited for you. So.
Well, I think if you want to ask honest question, he's going to be fighting for that starting job.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to ask yourself, all right, what gives us the best way to win? I know it's going to be a tough decision that coach staff's going to have to make, but you look at the tools this young man has, he's going to be hard for me to set him on the bench and say, wait another year, young man, especially if he progresses and works hard. First of all, you got to work hard. You stay humble and work hard. That's, attitude and effort. And but it's a good thing is there's a bright future for next year.
Yep.
A lot of good athletes coming back.
Well, I have confidence in Coach Briggs that he's creative enough to find ways to mix everybody in there. So.
And how hard is that? I know, of course, coaching my boys, how tough it is, because as a coach, you want my boys probably, a lot of times I think they thought I hated them because I was probably way harder on them than anybody else because I didn't want anybody to think I was playing daddy ball.
Yeah.
And I know your dad being offensive coordinator, you've been a young quarterback. It's probably plays on his mind when he's calling plays to try not to look like he's trying to make you look like the superstar. But sometimes you just got to, you got to let the playmakers make plays. Just don't let, haters are going to be haters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway, you got a bright future. Whether you play quarterback next year or not, you do have a bright future and a bright future for the Wellston football team for next year. So.
And your basketball
Big game
guy too,
tomorrow
right?
night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So basketball right around the corner. You feel like football helps you stay ready for basketball?
I'm going to use basketball to get me a little bit in better shape for football next year.
Yeah. Which is your favorite, if you had to pick a favorite?
Probably basketball.
Basketball? We'll work on that.
Of course, my buddy Scott Cheatham, of course, Coach Graham knows him well. He was a dominant basketball player, and he had really good footwork. And he was about 6'6", and but the basketball game, he's really good at basketball sports. That helped him in football. And so, use basketball to be a better football player.
Awesome.
You got 3 more big years left. I mean, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, man.
Yeah.
Got a lot of talent. So, Wes, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a little bit of a break, come back and we'll get Coach Graham. We got some other coaches here. We might try to put them on the spot, get them up here, too. We'll see what happens. I'm Matt Peterson, Nate Mollahan, Jordan Lackey. We'll be right back. Hi, Rocket fans. We're back here at the Patio, Grubs and Sudds, for this episode of Thursday Night Lights. And as always, we have usually just Coach Graham, but Coach Briggs came with him. So we talked about earlier in the show, thought we'd just put him on the spot. Talk to both of you guys since we had a heck of a win, man. Heck of a night. And what an atmosphere. Crowd was absolutely jacked. Everybody's into it. Things didn't start off quite how we wanted. You take a 12-0 chunk going into halftime. Talk a little bit about what happened in the locker room, because you guys came out and it was a different team.
Well, up front, pretty much they did what they wanted to do to us in the first half. They kind of stymied us at first, and we had some things to figure out. And basically, I just went at halftime and asked them whose senior night was it? Was it their senior night or ours? And we made few adjustments up front. Coaching staff, we talked about it, what we could do, and we come out and it was a little different ball game. Still kind of starting out slow even in the second half for a series or two, and then once we got things rolling, then we got the flow. I think everything kind of went a little easier for us. Calls were, and our kids didn't quit. That was a big thing. Previous years or whatever, you may see a drop of a head, and even early in the season this year, kids get down and we kind of reminisce and we stayed focused, and we kept telling them, hey, it's not over, keep playing, good things happen, and sure enough, we
fell into a really good rhythm.
Fell into a good rhythm, and we were able to pull out a big win. It was a big win for the kids. Kids were very excited, and we were happy for the kids.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know sure if you heard us telling the guys earlier, is basically like you just said. In the past, I don't care if it's 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. Wellston, if they get down at halftime, 2 scores, they're not coming back most of the time. Because there's a lot of personality issues in the locker room to where finger pointing starts, and then next thing you know, it's like the game's over at that point before the second half even starts. But it's impressive that you guys were down 12 and then come back and then win big like you did. As exciting. We said it all year long. It says a lot to how the kids play for you guys and are bought into what you're trying to do here. And so
they pretty much, first half they pretty much loaded the box on us and basically said, hey, you pass the ball. You're going to beat us. You're going to pass the ball. We still move the ball on the ground, in the trenches a little bit, and then we opened up our passing game a little bit and
warmed
kept
down a little bit,
nice and short and sweet. And Wes made some great passes, and the rest is kind of history after that.
Yeah. Well, that's something, we've talked a little bit, and Coach Briggs, maybe you can answer some of this. It seems like the past 2 or 3 games, maybe Nelsonville and Athens, just kind of felt like we couldn't get rhythm in offense. Things weren't flowing quite right. What are some things that you did in the second half of that Meigs game? Because, man, we said it was tempo a big part of that, because it seemed like you had a lot of success when you're going a little bit of no huddle.
I think the tempo game, keeping the kids, moving at a quicker pace. They did some things up front that they scouted us well. They were prepared for what we were trying to do, especially in the first half. We switched up a couple blocking assignments to try to help in the run game, which still we didn't run the ball as well as I wanted to in the second half. But we had some timely runs that were big in the second half. But we knew there were a few things they did in the secondary we thought we could take advantage of, particularly based on where we were lining Fod up, which gave us some advantages with the tight end late in the game that we hit. But you talked a little bit about coming back, and that was something I talked to the kids about, at halftime with Meigs. I said, because I kept pointing it out in the Athens game, I said, we had some mishandled snaps. We had some big penalties. We had 2 special team issues, and yet there were still opportunities for us to win that game in the second half.
Sure.
I said, we cut it to a score. We got it to 2 scores, and I said, we're in the same boat right now. Which team are we going to be in the second half? Are we going to make another mistake when we start getting our momentum, or are we going to keep playing? And I think the tempo kind of helped the kids stay on pace. It gave me an opportunity to kind of see, to make them show their cards a little bit sooner than us, where they were going to bring pressure from, where the defensive line was going to line up, which helped us get in a little better scheme as far as what they were doing.
Yeah. Well, the offensive numbers really don't set the world on fire.
No.
But they were all in the second half. Most of them were in the second half. I think for the game, Seth and Mason might have combined for right around 90 yards, give or take. I'm not exact on those numbers. Wes had 104 yards passing, but I think one of the key adjustments I think he only had 4 pass attempts in the first half.
It was
10 in the second half.
We threw the ball a lot more in the second half, and I think we were I was as timid as they were early on calling the pass plays because the flow of the game, and I did not want to get us in a situation where all of a sudden it became a 20-point deficit as opposed to 12. But we knew, Coach Graham and I talked about at halftime, we have confidence in Wes, and there were opportunities for him to make plays, and thankfully, our receivers, our line blocked well, and we were able to make the plays when we needed. But a lot of it, when someone told me we had, 2 first downs, I was more surprised that we had 2. It felt like we had none. I was that frustrated at halftime. It just felt like we could not do anything in the first half. And then in the second half, when they told us our total numbers, I felt like we had 300 yards. Our defense played so well and put us in, and special teams put us on short fields that when we did make a drive, it would be a 1-play, 25-yard touchdown, or 3 plays, 30. They put us in great spots all game, which really helped and, might have led to what I felt like was a massive second half numbers that we didn't have.
Yeah.
Our defense really did set us
They
up.
played very well.
So, and some big key plays. Isaac with his pick
Absolutely.
6 wouldn't have happened without Hunter's pressure.
And then Kel's special teams return after
Kel's
the
return,
And we
exactly.
talked
That was a
about
big
momentum.
return.
I've been a part of whether it's football or basketball. You get back in a game, you take the lead, and then they punch you. And then a lot of the times, kids fold in those situations. Kel makes a big play. Wes makes a big pass to Bennett. We score, and we're right back on top. And at that point, I did look around after Weber hit the extra point, and I told Coach Muntel in the box, I said, I don't know that I've seen a crowd this excited in a while. I mean,
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was fun to look
It
and
was so
see all the
fun.
people,
They were
cheering.
pumped.
Yeah.
Big
It
punch
was.
after big punch, wasn't it? It seemed like,
Man, dramatic.
seemed like whoever had the ball at the end was going to win.
One of the most dramatic second halves
And like we
I've
said,
watched in a while.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
Well, and
We're not used to Wellston teams hanging in there. It'd go on from big punch to big punch. And so it's so fun to watch it.
And something that's interesting, doing a broadcast on the radio is it seems like every game we'll call, 1 or 2 players really stand out. This is a game where you had
Oh, my
so
goodness.
many guys. And guys, Johnny Scott getting a pick with a club hand. Telling Clarkson, give me 5 yards. He gets you 5 yards in a score with his little pad on. Then he comes big interception towards the end of the game.
It was actually a great senior night for us.
It was.
Absolutely.
Bennett with 2 touchdowns.
Solid all
Then you
night.
had Mikey Weber, 37-yard field goal.
Yep.
Isaac McWilliams with a pick 6. So there was and Hunter Brown played phenomenal. That's at D tackle. So it was a really good senior night for us, and I thought the kids really stepped up.
And Evan Kenner, this is something we haven't talked about hardly at all this year, but the past few games, his punting has been absolute. I mean, he had some outstanding kicks against Meigs, and I think that's key when you're trying to flip the field.
Absolutely. Especially when you're struggling offensively.
Right.
To put them in, and you guys know, being around the game, it changes your play calls when you're at the
Oh, yeah.
plus or the minus. So
for sure.
that field position game, to an average fan, you may not pay a lot of attention to it, but when you're, I don't know how many times I'm yelling and
You're calling the
screaming.
plays,
Yeah, when there's a penalty on a kick return and now we're at the 15 instead of the 4, it really changes what you're trying to do. And I talked to Evan after the game, and that stood out to me, and I said, you don't know how big your punts were. I said, not a lot of people are going to talk about them. They're going to talk about the touchdowns or the field goal, but in that first half and into the third quarter, you had some massive field changers for us.
So that's been a big key. He always. I want to mention that because you talk about him at corner, you're talking about a wide receiver, and that's punter's one of these guys that just kind of gets kind of like a kicker, just kind of gets overlooked. But having him and Mike Weber on special teams, man, I think that's been
We're going to miss those two.
a bright spot for us. So, talk about a little bit, Coach Graham, what you've done to create that kind of camaraderie that will allow a whole team to step up like that.
It's not really so much of what I've done. I've kind of challenged the seniors. I'm not going to take all the credit that our coaching staff has done a tremendous job. I've mentioned it several times. We're always preaching team. It's a team thing, team sport, and our seniors have really stepped up. Bennett Yadernachek, Isaac, Hunter, all of our seniors, they've all stepped up, and they've kind of taken this on their own, pretty much. I'm saying, hey, I'm holding you accountable. This is what needs to be done. This is, I'm holding them accountable. So they're passing it down as, from class to class to class. So, and we're hoping that carries over. those types of things, and that's kind of changing the culture a little bit. You know, like I said before, you know, when we lost at Nelsonville, yeah, we lost. I mean, don't accept it. I mean, take it. Don't cry about it forever. You know, it's upsetting. You know, shed a tear here and there, but learn from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't let it keep you down. And I think we've done a good job of, you know, when games are one-sided, like the Fairlands and the Portsmouth West, but we were in those games, but we let them get away from us. We didn't hang our heads. We kept fighting.
Kept growing.
And then there's Monday practices. I mean, they're working hard, you know, trying to fix those issues.
And that's what we've said all year on radio is teams like Fairland, Minford, and West, really good teams, all playoff teams probably, unless Minford slips because last week's loss. But you guys, throughout all three of those games, had series where you guys played really good. I mean, against really good teams. So the potential's there, man. It's now
All of our coaches have stepped in. You know what I mean?
And I think that leadership shows off too when you throw a freshman back there, quarterback for 3 games, who's never played a snap of football, and you're functioning and winning a league game. But, you know, yeah, Wes has done extremely well. I'm proud of him, but a lot of it is credited to the guys up front, the kids that are picking him up, that are trying to keep him positive, that are encouraging and doing their job for him. So, you know, there aren't a lot of teams that are going to be throwing a freshman in there for 3 straight league games and, you know, being in the games, winning the games if you don't have that leadership.
We talked about that ourselves. How many teams would win those games with a third-string quarterback?
Right.
You know, so we feel, you know, lucky to have Wes in there, and, you know, like I said, he did a phenomenal job for us, and he's going to keep doing that.
Yeah, he's just a little third-string quarterback.
Yeah, he's just a little tiny guy.
I look at him over there. That's a little fella.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't see, and we saw it, I think we mentioned this to you in the post-game interview there Friday night, was when that shows on the field, people don't see it. We just happen to see Meigs got a personal foul penalty, and things started getting a little bit nasty. And I saw Bennett Yadernacek come up and grab a couple guys from behind and just get in their ear a little bit. That's so key, because if those offset, you know, that's 15 free yards that you just gave somebody. And in a game like we had the other night, that stuff matters.
Absolutely.
You might not overcome that. So, you know, great job, fellas. I mean, I know you don't like to take credit, and that's what a good coach does. But you guys play a part in it. Of course, the players do a good job of picking up on that and communicating it down the line. So we'll take a quick break, keep these guys here, come back and talk a little bit of Vinton County, and we'll get you all out of here. All right? I'm Matt Peterson, Nate Mollahan, Jordan Lackey. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here at the Patio, Grubs, and Sudds for our final segment of Thursday Night Lights for this show. We'll do a league recap, Wellston season recap next week. Still have Coach Graham with us, Coach Briggs. Thanks for coming on. Talk a little bit about Vinton County this week.
Well, Vinton County, we know it's a challenge. I mean, they're good. They're good, very good defensively and offensively both. I mean, they're a well-rounded team. We're looking forward to the challenge. Like I told our kids, it's another football game. You're not playing the Buckeyes. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it can be inflated, you know, for your kids themselves, thinking that the challenge is bigger than what they're up for. So we're keeping them grounded, and you know, hey, it's a rivalry game, and you never know what can happen. I mean, I think we got just as good a shot as anybody. We're going to go out there and give it our best shot and see what happens. Like I said, we know they're good offensively and defensively. They've got to share the TVC title already, and you know, kudos to them. You know, on a good
I can
season.
remember, I think it was, might have been Michael's senior year. and Braden senior year,
Yeah.
we were heavily favored to beat them. Me and Matt was on the staff with Coach Phillips.
Yep.
We get up there, and these players are in the locker room like, "Psh, we got this one." I mean, they were like talking trash before the game even started. Like,
Yeah.
we don't even have to play hard, and then they end up getting beat. So that's what you face when you're the major or the major team that's going to win this, or I guess pick to win this game. So that's an advantage you guys can take. I guess an advantage you guys can take into this game, being the underdog, and because they're going to come in overconfident, and maybe
Still got to play the game.
Yeah, you got to play the game.
I mean, I think they'll come in prepared, and I think they'll be ready to play. It's their senior night, so they want to take their seniors out on a high, I'm sure. Like I said, we're looking forward to the challenge, and it'll be exciting. So.
Yeah.
I think one of the interesting things, Vinton County has games where they don't score a lot.
Right.
And as well as our defense is playing, I think the key being if we can shore up that defense still, play a good defensive game, and just play clean on offense. I think one of the best things about Meigs, I think we have one penalty, maybe two. I mean, so very disciplined football game against Meigs. So you're on the right track heading into a game like this.
Yeah, I thought the Meigs game went really fast. I think both teams were kind of stagnant in the first half and put some small drives together, but time wasn't a whole lot of passing, I don't think, and time was just ticking. Everybody was 3 and out, punt, 3 and out.
Yeah.
So, we're looking.
About the same type of game,
Yeah,
pretty
to put
much.
this same type of game plan together and see what happens.
Yeah. A lot of defensive struggle going on.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times just do what you do and just be good at what you do.
That's what it's going to come down
Yeah.
to. They're very good defensively. We know that. I mean, and not taking anything against their offense because they have some great offensive players.
Yeah.
Our kids know them. They know our kids.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of a rivalry game. And but they play. They're very aggressive defensively. They're well coached. So we know it's going to be a challenge, but we're excited to play tomorrow night. That's for sure.
Well, and it's always nice to go into a game with nothing to lose.
Right.
All the pressure's on them. They still have to win this game to win the league outright. So they're not out of the woods. If Nelsonville pulls off a win and they lose tomorrow, they got to split it. Nobody wants to split it.
So nobody expects us to win. I mean, let's just put it out as is. Nobody in Southeastern Ohio expects us to go win. So, hey,
Let's go win it.
let's go play.
Opportunity,
play the game.
Opportunity to prove them wrong.
Yep.
So with that, we have our pick contest. And I got to sit next to Coach Graham here. He's going to
This has been a battle all year.
I've been the only guy to be the villain and pick against the Rockets. So I'll come out, and it's not just because he's sitting here with me. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'll go against Southeastern Ohio. I'll pick the Rockets in this one because of the defense. We played so well defensively against Meigs, and I think that momentum coming off of that can carry us. So I have faith in a young quarterback, the stable running backs we got, and the coaching staff and the leadership they've instilled. If they're going to pull an upset, it's going to be tomorrow. So let's go Rockets.
You know who I'm going with.
Well, any team you get beat on any given day. You go up there and you just do your game. Don't worry
gotta
about
play
the
the
giant
game.
in front of you. Just play them. They put their pants on just like you guys do.
Yep.
And I know one thing that Rylan, my son out there, sitting out there, he loved, like when in basketball, for example, we played Willisburg one year, and he was a freshman, I think. He wanted to get in that game so bad because he wanted to see how he compared to those guys. And that's, I think you guys got the right mindset to these younger players and senior players too, that they want to see how they compare to someone like Vinton County, how they can come out. You look what they did to Nelsonville. They came out and they played with Nelsonville. We could have beat Nelsonville really good. I mean, you look how close the Nelsonville and Vinton County game was. I mean, 13-7, that's not a blowout. I mean, even though Vinton County had a good defensive game, that's not a blowout. And you look how there was times in those drives that we looked like the better team against Nelsonville. So there's nothing that says that you guys can't go out there and surprise them. I mean, just a good belief. Just do your job and don't overthink things and do what you do. Go out there and knock down a giant. So I want to go with the Rockets.
Yeah.
Something before we go that I wanted to ask, and I forgot. We did see a Landon Hype sighting on defense.
That was a break.
He had a couple of nice plays.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Might we see that more going forward?
It's definitely a possibility of that.
Especially with the,
Definitely a
you know, the
possibility
run
of that.
dominant game, you know, it's
No, I'm
he's a-
always yelling, saving for offense.
Our big guys are kind of sparse, so we're trying to give some guys some breaks here and there, and Landon fell in there. He had some breaks, and he was eager to get back on he wanted to get on defense, so we afforded him a chance to get on defense a little bit.
He made some plays.
Yeah.
He was
Oh, yeah.
out there.
We saw him in there, and of course I tried to figure out. I think he was in for Gage Goheen,
Yeah.
and my first thought was, man, I hope Gage didn't hurt because we haven't seen Landon on defense. But no, that wasn't the case. So
Well, think about
awesome.
last year too, just real quick. You know, Vinton County come down here last year, and it was expected to be a blowout. In that first half, Wellston
It
played with them.
absolutely was.
I mean, they did.
Yep.
So anything can happen tomorrow night, Coach. I wish you guys the best of luck.
Yep, and we got
get 'em.
a pretty much a full defense. You know, Johnny Scott back, Clarkson back, so got some pieces to move around on D, and I'm excited to see how they hold them in check.
I'm proud of and I was talking to Coach Phillips the other weekend about how proud I am of how well you guys have done and how you've approached this coaching staff and how you've approached the team, and you've come in humble, and it's all about everybody else, not yourself. And that's something that says a lot about your program, you know. And I want to thank you for the job that you've done, and so good luck tomorrow night, Coach.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck, guys. So we'll wrap up that episode here. We got one more episode next week. That'll be our league recap, Wellston season recap. I'm sure we'll have these guys back around, so we'll talk to you one more week at least. Coach Briggs will be getting ready for basketball coming up here pretty soon. So on that note, thanks for hanging out with us. I'm Matt Peterson, Nate Mollahan, Jordan Lackey. We'll see you one more time next week.